is this?
Who are you trying to reach?
In 1996, Scream changed horror forever. It was meta, it was self-aware, and it asked the question that became a pop culture staple.
What's your favorite scary movie?
We all know the scenes. A killer who knows too much, a killer who treats murder like a trivia game. The thing about horror, in all movies really, they're always inspired by something real. Six years before Ghostface, a real man sat at a campsite in the woods behind the University of Florida. He was waiting for the opening credits of his own personal slasher film to begin. And he wasn't wearing a mask, but he was obsessed with movies. His name was Danny Rawling, and you know him as the Gainesville Ripper. And his story isn't just the inspiration for Scream, it is a case study in what happens when the audience decides to join the cast. August 1990. 5 students are dead in 4 days. The police are under massive pressure, and they're desperate for a villain, so they zero in on this 18-year-old student named Ed Humphrey because he looks the part. He had facial scars from a car accident, he was off his meds for manic depression, and he was weird. So the media destroyed him. The police interrogated him. The narrative was perfect. The outcast student snaps. But while the system was busy destroying an innocent man's life because he fit the trope, the real killer was watching it all unfold on the news. Danny Rawlings wasn't a student. He was a 36-year-old drifter who had set up a tactical campsite in the woods. He was listening to music, he was recording audio diaries, and he was watching the police chase the wrong ghost. Because the system doesn't always catch the monster. Sometimes it creates a new one to make us feel safe. Now, let's look at what connects this case to Scream. So in the movie, the killers are obsessed with horror trivia. They want to recreate scenes. Danny Rawling was actually the exact same. Just days before the massacre, Rawling went to the movies to see The Exorcist 3. The film features this character called the Gemini Killer, a supernatural force that decapitates victims and places their heads on shelves. Rawling didn't just watch the movie, he absorbed it, he loved it. He told psychiatrists that he had an alternate personality named Gemini. So when police found the body of Krista Hoyt, they found her head placed on a shelf facing her body, just like the movie. It wasn't random violence, it was a prop to him. He was recreating the scene that he had seen at the movies. And Rawling proved that a fan of a horror movie could be a lot more scary than the movie itself. So flash forward to 1994. The screenwriter, Kevin Williamson, is in his house, which is pretty far out in the woods, and he turns on the TV and he watches a special about the Gainesville Ripper, and he learns how Rawling would slip through open windows and how he would camp in the backyard. So suddenly Williamson realized that there was a window in the house he was staying in, and it was open. Williamson isn't scared of ghosts, but he is terrified of humans. So he calls a friend to calm his nerves, and they start quizzing each other about horror movies to distract themselves. That conversation became the opening scene of Scream.
Hello?
Hello?
One of the reasons that movie is so terrifying is because that terror comes from a real play. Danny Rawling eventually pleaded guilty, but he basked in the attention. He even had a fiance during the trial who was a journalist. He wanted to be a star. On October 25th, 2006, the state of Florida executed Danny Rawling. And true to his nature, true to the performance he thought he was giving, he did not go quietly. When asked for his last words, Danny Rawling did not apologize. He sang for 2 minutes while the witnesses watched in uncomfortable silence. The killer sang a hymn he had written, a song about God and redemption performed by a man who had mutilated students for fame.
I recall the day I first saw you. I reached out to say I love you, but it was hard to say. What were my words? All my tears run together, baby, just like rain.
Media turned his crimes into a spectacle, and he turned his execution into a musical. And Hollywood turned his methodology into one of the most successful franchises in horror history.